it's all about these neurons and how they communicate together. Each neuron, each of these 85 billion neurons has about 10,000 to up to 200,000 connections with other neurons where they're better trained. Um, and they really generate up to 100 signals per second. So what it means is that you have up to 1 million, in other words, 1 trillion bits of data being transported in your brain every single second. That's what I meant by your body and your mind are pretty impressive. Now, we've talked about what your body is, what your mind is, what your brain is made of. So let's see a little bit how they interact together. There are about 4 decades of research on the mind-body connection. It's a very solidly documented area. If you were to pay a visit to scholars.google.com, which compiles all the peer-reviewed and scientific journals, and you were to type mind-body connection, you'd find about 2.7 million results on that shows you the extensive body of work in this field. And really what happens, how it works, is that there is a constant dialogue. There's a constant neurochemical conversations between your mind and your body. The activity of your mind is constantly conveyed to your body, and vice versa. And the way it goes is really through this central nervous system and this peripheral nervous system, and all the inputs that's being brought to your to the attention of your mind, and all the information being sent back to your body to respond appropriately. And it's all done through these neural signaling. What you see here is these neurons, and that have an electrical conversation within each neuron. Really, your body produces more electrical impulses in one day than all the cell phones in the world. So within the neuron, the message is electrical. And between neurons, in this little area that you see here, where you have these little floating red dots that are just neurotransmitters, that are chemicals that just really go from, that transmit the information between one neuron and the other. What you're seeing, this area is called the synapse, which is the point of connection between neurons. And so cells have receptors for these neurotransmitters, and this is how the information is being conveyed. So how does that work if we were to go into more details, really? And what's happening? What's the chain reaction between you having a thought and the reaction in your body? Well, of course, bear in mind that everything you've ever done first originated with a thought that was influenced by your beliefs, your experiences, your perception, associations, and all of that came through your mind. And once you had this thought, your mind generated this image, this holographic image that represents your attention. Potentially, it might be you in a specific situation. And as you generate this image in your mind, you have this chemical reaction, this release of hormones, this emotion. And of course, this emotion is different depending on the intensity. This emotion will be different if you're apprehensive because, or if you're a little bit nervous about a job interview, or if you're completely terrorized because there's a psychopath holding you at gunpoint, or worse, you even learned that your mother-in-law is coming for dinner. The reaction will be different if you're pensive because you're like, oh, I've missed my hairdresser appointment, or if you're grieving a loved one. Your reaction will be tremendously different if you're serene, if you're just reading a book, laying in the sun comfortably, or if you're in a complete state of ecstasy, sharing an intimate moment with the lover of your life. And interestingly, these emotions will play a major part in how you remember things and how you experience life. And the more intense these emotions, the more likely you will recall things. This is why you may recall an amazing moment in your life, maybe the birth of a child, maybe the day when you graduated, maybe the day you met somebody you love tremendously, and you will remember that. But you probably won't remember what you had for lunch yesterday, because routine lulls the brain to sleep. And this is why the emotions have such an important part to play. And these emotions, interestingly, will also generate a distinct physiological state. And we often, that is measurable using this electroencephalogram, this EEG. And you might have heard about beta, alpha, theta, delta waves, and I won't go into details right now. But just bear in mind that these emotions generated in your mind have a distinct physiological state in your body. And then once you've had this image, this thought that generated this image, that generated this emotion, and bear in mind that everything happened in about a millisecond, you have this energy / this chemical reaction. And what I mean by that is that if you were to look into your body with the most powerful microscope and you were to look at the cells of your body, the smallest unit alive that I was mentioning earlier, and that you were to go a little bit deeper in the cells, you would find the molecules. And you would find that these molecules are made out of atoms and subatomic particles. I'm talking about neutrons and protons forming the nucleus. And around this nucleus, you would have this electron cloud. You would have this electron orbiting around the nucleus. Now, an interesting idea is that if the orbit of these electrons was the size of the Earth, so the orbit of the electrons was the size of the Earth, the size of the nucleus would be about the size of a cherry. Now, my question to you is, what is in between? What is in this space in between this nucleus that's the size of a cherry and these electrons that are orbiting at an orbit that's the size of the Earth? Well, what quantum physicists are telling us is that in this space is just space that's vibrating so fast that in one instant is behaving like physical matter, and the other instant is behaving like a wave of light. So what quantum physicists are telling you is that you are a body of energy that's vibrating. That's not woo-woo, that's quantum physics. And of course, this body of energy is impacted by every thought. Just think about everything that happens in your body in 30 seconds. In the next 30 seconds, you will take about 8 breaths. You'll produce zero 0.3 grams of carbon dioxide. Your heart will beat 36 times. You'll produce about 72 million red blood cells. Your blood will travel about 4 miles. You'll shed 174,000 skin cells. You'll blink 6 or 7 times. You'll have maybe 25 thoughts more if you're a little bit excited about this presentation. And your body will generate about 100 watts of energy. That's what I meant by your body and your mind are so amazing. And this is, of course, impacting your reality. This is impacting what you're experiencing on a daily basis.